again today at 8:19. Pretty good day. It's not a gym day, so we get on a little early when it's not a gym day. Um, let's do our disclaimer. Um, Videos, tools. I hope y'all day is well or has been well. Disclaimer. The videos presented here are for informational purposes only, and therefore, if you are to choose an institution, please do your own research and consult with a professional or a specialist at the institution that you are interested in. I am not a financial aid specialist, academic advisor, or representing any institution. Speaking on behalf of Creator, Henry is only speaking from his experience. Okay? All right. Now that we got that out the way, let's get into it. Let me enter here. And I apologize if y'all hear that next door. We got some new neighbors next door. Joking, not neighbors, but you get the gist. Some new people there in there. Bring it over. All right. So we are in here. And let's talk about our first big topic. The Senate Republicans make changes to the one big beautiful bill. Let's talk about that. That was very good. I got multiple sources. That was like breaking news if you ask me. It was like a lot of information based on that. So I will start with Chronicle. Let me see if they spoke on that a lot. They said late Tuesday, Senate Republicans took their first stab at reinterpreting the overhaul of federal financial aid laid out in the One Big Beautiful Bill that was passed last month by the House. We talked about that. And they said the draft plan was released by Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, largely follows through on the House objectives. So they didn't really put, okay, here we go. They said colleges with plenty of part-time students are breathing a deep relief. I didn't notice. They said community colleges were going to be hit the hardest because a lot of community colleges students are part-time apparently, which makes sense because a lot of like community college get a lot of students that are moms. For example, you got moms that are going to school, they're juggling work, their kids, and school, and more. And some, like we said before, community college for some reason pulls in a lot of older students. So I can understand that. And the average student at a community college slash technical school is like, I'm just here to get a diploma, certificate, so I don't plan on being here long. They don't really be full time. But that's our goal, to make this full time. We want to see students go to a 2-year and bridge to a 4-year. We want to see more of that. We want to see that a lot. So they said community colleges were particularly panicked by a provision in the House bill that would require students to take 30 credit hours per academic year. Remember I said when I break down schools, I usually do 12 credit hours. But if that bill would have got passed and they didn't make any changes, you were going to be taking 15 per credit hour in order to receive your maximum Pell Grant, which was going to be not good because that's a lot of classes, especially if it's your first semester. That's a lot of classes. And then they said the impact of the Pell shifts would be, I'm going to put this word in here for y'all. I believe I pronounced that word before, but just to be safe today, and I don't want to get us off topic with my pronunciations that don't go my way, I'm going to put it in for y'all. That word right there. So, and then they said more than half of the students in the country will fall short of the 30 credit hour standard, according to an analysis. Okay, they got an analysis in here. Let's see who that analysis is by. It said analysis by the Congressional Budget Office, about 400,000 community college students stood to lose their Pell Grants altogether. That is a lot of students, 400,000. And that would have been a lot of money left on the table. According to a letter sent by the Association of Community College Trustees to the Senate committee after the House bill passed. They said another one. Let's see. Yeah, we need to talk about this. They said a message received. Apparently, those thresholds are gone in the Senate plan. Students would remain Pell eligible no matter how many credit hours they take. Boom. So it don't matter how many credit hours you take. You're still gonna be eligible for Pell. You're still gonna be eligible for Pell, which makes it very beautiful. I only thought it only would be right if you didn't do that, because a lot of students, unless you don't want students going to school, but they said they do want students going to school, so it makes sense that it shouldn't matter what they're taking as long as they're taking classes and working toward their progression. It shouldn't be a race to finish college. I never really believed in that. I only believe in, like, you should make money while you're in college. You should have a fair chance at that. I do believe that based on how everything is today. It's not like it's free or it's cheaply cost or affordable to find places to live while you're in college. It's not like it's affordable for students to get per diem while they're in college. Like, they're on their own. That's why they have like a food pantry. So some of this stuff didn't line up a little bit with me. And so um and the standard for full-time eligibility would stay at 24 credit hours per year. So 12 and 12 per semester. Take 12 and 12. Do not go over the 15. Do not go over the 12. It doesn't make sense. If you want to go over 12 credit hours per semester, do 12. That's what I like to say. If you want to do more than 15, if you want to do more than 12, because if you add on 15, that's like 2 credit hours right there. Just do 12 in the fall, 12 in the spring, and then do those 2 credit hours you plan on doing. Try to do them in the summer, or just add on 2 classes in the summer. I always did 2 classes in the summer. 3 is crazy. Don't do 3 in the summer. Always do 2, and make sure you can ask your academic advisor, like, hey, if I take these 2, is this instructor known for lowering the workload to summer or tailoring it to summer? Some instructors don't do that. They try to fit a fall and spring semester type of course load into summer, and that's not good for the student. It's gonna be a lot of complaints. So, or reach out to the instructor. I remember one time I reached out to my instructor slash professor about a class to balance my schedule, because I like to make my own schedules. That's how I did good. I didn't really rely on them because I know me better as a person. Not everybody's not like that, and so I would reach out, use my email that the school gave me. Guys, take advantage of your emails. Take advantage of your Microsoft, Adobe, the benefits of being a student. Take advantage of all of those. We get a lot of resources that goes into your fees, and please go ask, like, I don't know if that's career services or the benefits. I don't know. They need to get like a benefits office to just let you know the benefits you have at the college, because we have a lot of benefits that I know. Like right now, graduate school, I'm using right now. Like getting subscriptions to, at least for me, credible items in higher education. That helps me out. That helps me out a lot. And so I get discounts, really good discounts on stuff. Take advantage of all that. That adds up. Um, Message received. Those thresholds are gone in the Senate plan. Let's see what they're talking about. Okay. Language from both chambers would render borrowers with a high student aid index and eligible. I don't know what they're talking about on that one. If that holds, Pell could emerge as a bit of a winner overall. Now, you probably wondering, why do we talk about Pell a lot? Or why do higher education talks about Pell a lot? Because once again, to reiterate, a lot of higher education students, rich, poor, middle class, get financial aid. It all depends on who your parents are. It all depends on all these stipulations, right? I wish I had my financial aid person in here because he just good to bring on for like a good 10 to 20 minutes. And once we keep upgrading the equipment, of course, we can, because I'm live streaming off the phone, I can bring him in when I add some stuff to just come on for like a quick 10 to 20 while he's at work, right? And he knows where to tread on, like, make sure you consult with a financial aid specialist. Make friends with financial aid. Make friends with them. They know some things that if they don't know you well, like they like, I want to help this student, but I don't know how they might react. Try to build a relationship with your financial aid. Because as a student, student affairs is your best friend. From the registrar to the business office to financial aid to admission, still, just because they admit you into the school, they still can help you with some stuff. All those people are very helpful. And so, like we was talking about, Pale could emerge as a bit. Y'all didn't say no comment, did y'all? I feel like I just saw a comment. Okay, no comment. Just making sure. Pale could emerge as bit of a winner. Like the House, the Senate would pump 10.5 billion into the grant program over 3 years and create a workforce Pell program. They talked about that. We spoke on that. A workforce Pell program. And the Trump administration is trying to really bring back labor to the United States. I don't really know how to. I would love to hear y'all perspective on that. Do you see yourself working in manufacturing, like going to school and working in manufacturing in the future? I think that's a good question to ask incoming students. Like, think about it. Like, as long as you do that one job, you come in, they're not working you crazy. It could be a sweet gig, being in the workforce early and then actually your Pell covering that. But Pell already covers, unless they're gonna give you more money. Pell already covers like welding, HVAC, what's some other ones in there? Electrical and many more. They do. And the Senate may also okay. The Senate may also nix a controversial plan to put colleges' skin in the student debt game. Please don't take that. Let me see. The House legislation would force colleges to foot some of the bill when their students default on federal loans. That risk sharing model is gone in the Senate plan. They took it away. So colleges won't have to pay for if you didn't finish college, but you didn't finish college and you got stuck with student loans, pretty much. Federal student loans, I believe. Let's be clear. Did they specify? Yeah, federal loans. Your school had to pay the bill for that. It was gonna make the school pretty much pay for, like, hey, it was your job to make sure this student graduated. This student didn't graduate, so you got to pay the bill. They took that away. The risk sharing model is gone in the Senate plan. Though colleges could lose federal aid if their students fail to meet standards on median earnings and debt. Let me read that again. So they said, though colleges could lose federal aid if their students fail to meet standards on median earnings and debt. So I will put that in there. I feel like that's something to put in there for you all to see. I'll put it in the chat. I like to do that. And so really that main part is, if your school can lose their federal aid if students don't meet, like, if you don't make, if you are a financial aid student, that's what we do at the end of our videos. After the college scorecard on Department of Education, usually after you've been removed from the school for 10 years, if you're not hitting your threshold of income, the school is gonna get in trouble. And then if the debt is not, if your income, it's like a debt to ratio, what my finance people at. So if your income or your earnings are not meeting your debt, the school is gonna lose aid. So this makes the school have to work harder to make sure that you get a job when you leave the school. None of that false advertisement stuff. As I tell you, if you're dropping out, as I tell you, schools do a lot of false advertisement, I feel. I wrote about it in college a little bit. We talked about it. Schools, it's like it's part of goals. Schools are telling you like schools are telling you like you can come here and get a job and do this and do that, and they only highlight the noble alumni, I like to say. Like when we talked about Davidson College, right? When you think of Davidson College, you think of Steph Curry, right? And they don't really specify the other students who are doing well. That's why I like to say I'm speaking on behalf of you all, because there are students out there who might not be as big as Steph Curry or big as these honorary doctorate people who get these honorary doctorate degrees ain't never took a class, no offense to them. But it's people there who are just regular students that are paving the way for the school. And you should get some recognition for that, I feel like. Because if you didn't go to the school, even though you're regular, like you still might run a Fortune 500 company and nobody knows who you are, or you still might work in the corporate structure and made a way for yourself, and you are making a lot of money, but they're not highlighting that. And it's like, well, nobody cares, da da da. Man, like schools with the amount of money schools have, they should post like somebody, not noble. They should just post students who graduate from there doing well. It's a good marketing idea for them if they're gonna put in the work and do it. Now, if you see this later, I said it first. They should post somebody every day who is just regular, doing well, and just post one person every day. They give somebody work to do, like they prep for it in advance, however they want to set that up, and then they just have a rollout. They just roll them out. If not every day, every 3 days. If not every three, once a week. But you should be rolling somebody out who's just regular. I like saying regular because keeps a lot of attention off of me. And so, like now, I'm wearing a dry fit, talking to y'all on live screen. I look like comfortable, humble. I just like that. And so at the end, they said it's worth remembering that the two chambers agree more than they differ here. So I need to do some more political research on my part when they're talking about chambers, because I've seen that word like 2 or 3 times now. So that means I need to go know what they're talking about with the chambers. If we got some political science majors in here or future politicians, it won't hurt for you to help educate us. And yeah, other key tenets of the Houses A overhaul are largely untouched in the Senate plan. Fewer lending options. So grad plus loans, which allow graduate and professional students to borrow unlimited amounts, would be eliminated. Yes, I like that. So some of y'all might not agree with that, but they said grad plus loans, which allow graduate and professional students to borrow unlimited amounts of money. They actually just contacted me not too long ago, and I was like, why are they telling? It was like a sales. It was like, hey, this Henry Felton. We want to know if you filled out your financial aid. I immediately told him like, hey bro, I'm good. I'm covered. I'm straight. And like, cause I was like, is there a Pell or something for graduate students I don't know about? And they were like, nah. I was like, is there some Hope or something I can get as a graduate student? They were like, nah, because I'm in Georgia. It's called Hope. And I was like, well, I don't really need to fill it out. I'm not gonna fill it out. And don't say I'm leaving money on the table, because I'm not leaving money on the table if it's loans. I'm gonna owe it back. So they said they said would be eliminated, if I'm reading correctly. And then the Paris Plus loans, which do the same for parents of undergraduates, would be restricted. Okay. I never knew about Parent Plus loan. Didn't know about that. And it says stricter income-based repayment. So deferment options for borrowers claiming economic hardship would be kabooshed as well. Why did they use that word? Like, you ever wonder when people are writing, I guess they get bored saying the same words, because let me show y'all this word. They literally said kaboosh. Kaboosh. That gotta be kaboosh. I can't make this up with these words sometimes. And so we're gonna jump, because we're still talking about this, and we got some good times still. Um, so inside higher ed, they talked about the same thing. Let's see if they put some different information in here versus the Chronicle of Higher Education. Graduate, 1,000 part time. They said, okay, most notably, the Senate bill does not include a limit on traditional Pell Grant eligibility. That would have excluded thousands of part-time students, as the House version did, and it walks back House controversial risk sharing plan, which would force colleges to pay a penalty based on student unpaid loans. Let's keep going. I read this name now. I realized this name. He's on the American. So I was trying to figure out who is Emmanuel Glulery, if I said that right. I was like, who is this? And he's on the American Council of Education. It makes so much sense now. Once again, I'm putting the name in there. So if you want to come in, look at the chat. Emmanuel Glulery. I'm gonna just say Emmanuel. We're gonna call you Emmanuel. It says this bill is an improvement from the House version, and we acknowledge that the Senate listened to the higher education community, said Emmanuel, Senior Director of Government Relations at the American Council on Education. But overall, this bill is still going to have an impact on access to post-secondary education, and that will be reduced access for low-income students. So American Council on Education, ACE as they're known, which we talked about a little bit in the live stream on June 10th. We talked about ACE. So ACE is like, I don't know. It seems like they are there for the low income students. A lot of higher education is really heavily driven on low income students. And by me being low income, at the time when I started college, I was considered low income at least. And so I'm gonna be honest, I didn't take advantage of none of these or was well in knowledge of these people advocating for us, right? And so this person right here, because the Department of Education is supposed to police colleges, institutions. It seems like the American Council on Education is supposed to be there for the students. And so you have these things in place. That's why I wasn't a big fan of the Department of Education during the last administration, because the Biden administration, because they were not policing colleges, like, or state universities or community colleges even. Nobody was policing them. They were letting them do whatever they want. And once again, with no new policies were being implemented to tell them what they're doing wrong. And I just didn't like that. And so it was like no change coming. And then, man, they were even copying me a little bit when I was posting. But I got kicked off Instagram. I can't show the proof. Because I used to be like, I always say you can save money and time. You can save money and time when you started a 2-year and bridged to a 4-year. And nobody really knows who I am yet. So, no, I can't be lying about that, right? Can't be. It says, as the two chambers seek to reconcile their versions of so-called One Big Beautiful Bill Act, many of the proposals are still up in the air. And it's not clear how much House Republicans will fight for their more drastic changes. So let's remember, the Trump administration is Republican. The Senate is Republican. But even the Senate is like, hey, some of this stuff ain't gonna fly. And I think we should keep that in mind because we're nonpartisan. And like, you have to realize there are some Republicans who don't like Republicans. There are some Democrats who don't like Democrats. And it's not always Republican versus Democrat. Even the Republicans are like, hold on now, we ain't helping the people now at a certain extent. Like, kids ain't gonna be able to go to school. We ain't got kids going to school. There's gonna be a downfall on your plan to rebuild the workforce labor. So it's good that they're listening to them, because a lot of stuff in higher education, I could be wrong, but is perceived to be liberal. That's what a lot of like ultra rich, I would say not public figures, but figures who think they know about higher education. They're like, oh, it's liberal now. They're training you to be democratic, da 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 da. I think they should look into, like, because I follow a lot of tech people who are a lot of billionaires. Like, you got to think, a lot of people who made Google. So a lot of people make Google, YouTube. Google and YouTube is combined together. PayPal, that's called like the PayPal mafia. they've done a lot of things. I say this because they have done a lot of things we use. And the PayPal mafia consists of y'all know Elon, and Elon runs Tesla. He didn't found it, but he runs it. And Elon, you got Peter Thiel, you got some other guys, I don't really know their name, but they're doing great things. I know like they made the Google, they made the YouTube, Elon got X now, and a lot of things they do, we're surrounded by it. It's the PayPal's not really used like that no more. They sold it. But I brought that up because they don't really believe in the higher education system no more. I think people should stick in their lane a little bit because you have somebody like me who goes to school for it and who actually done it. Everything I'm telling you, I lived it. I did it. And so most people will tell you, you got people, no disrespect, but you got people who work at 2-year colleges and they never went to 2-year college. So how can they help you address 2-year college situations? I lived it and did it. I understand what a student is going through. I understand a student, like usually students don't have a car, so they struggling to get back and forth to school to get to their 2-year because a 2-year is not going to offer you a campus. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I feel like I see like a government restructure needed, because if I was at a 2-year and I had a choice to reallocate money at a 2-year, I would easily try to run like a simple bus transportation at a 2-year, because most students are local, should be at a 2-year. And then because a 2-year doesn't have a campus. So you should try to operate a bus like your own route for 2-year colleges. Like if you're a particular 2-year college, like provide them with a bus route. We got the money, right? We can raise the money, right? So that lets students get back and forth to school even though they don't have vehicles, you know? And that's like a big problem that 2 years would have. And so you heard that idea from me first. That's a good idea. Are they gonna put in the work and do it? We'll have to see. So as we keep talking about this One Big Beautiful Bill Act, because it's so important. It's so important. And guys, when I say I learn with you as well, I love that, because if I'm not live streaming, I'm probably researching companies to invest in the stock market. I read articles as they come sometimes. The articles be coming, they be coming. And it's a lot of articles. So I pick and choose the best ones I feel like it can help us as students, right? And so they said Senator Bill Cassidy, I seen that name recently too, a Louisiana Republican and one of the bill sponsors, said in the news release that the legislation would help fix the broken higher education system that continues to fail students and tackle the root causes of the student debt crisis. I will say they are right about that. It is broken. Once again, I feel like they can hear me. Like, I will definitely show y'all my papers. Like, all of my research was about the higher ed system being broken. All of it. And it made me kind of upset though, because my peers wouldn't really challenge me on that. They just let it ride. And I like a challenge. Like, let me know if I need to work on something. I love to work on stuff. Like, hey, it's always a way to get better. And they doing a comparison. We don't even know that. Policy analysts say that the bill is a strong step forward in terms of holding all colleges accountable for delivering quality programs. Yes. So a lot of colleges out here that have programs and they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so I love that. The proposal in the Senate bill are much easier to understand and allow students and schools to get a sense of the consequences. I love what they say right there, Michelle Domino. Students should know about this. That's why I'm surprised why we ain't getting all the views we deserve. If you're a college student, you should know about this, because I don't want you to have to be, when fall semester comes, you're looking crazy, in 2026 at least. But even this upcoming fall, you want to have some information on like what to expect in college, and you gonna need some navigation. Like, it's gonna be situations you trying to figure out how to balance. Like, you should have a balance in college, at least on your studies, right? You're not gonna have a balance in life. I feel like, me personally, I feel like it's hard to balance life sometimes. You just gotta keep going and getting better at it. But what I did in college, let me tell you how mine used to work, because I work part-time, full-time. I'm giving you my full-time schedule and I work full-time. But I was fully online. I would go to work from 8 to 5. Soon as I get off, I'll say about 4:30, I'm getting dressed for the gym. And I'll work out 3 days a week because 5 days a week was a little hectic, at least at the university level, because the workload increased. So working out 3 days a week, and then get dressed at 4:30, be in the gym by 5, set a timer. I'm in the gym for an hour. I'm in the gym for an hour. So that's going to allow me to ask people like, are you working out? Or are you just sitting here on the weights? Because a lot of people like to think they're working out. And I have a problem with that sometimes. Don't come to the gym like it's a playground. And so I'm going through my workouts. Disclaimer, please don't try this. You got to work your way into this when working out because your body, your muscles going to get fatigued. So I set a timer through each set. I do a set. I take 30 seconds. I look at the timer. When 30 seconds up, I get back in it, and then I do that for every workout I do in the gym. And then once I'm done by that hour, please use the sauna. If you got access to a sauna, use the sauna. It helps your body, especially as a former athlete myself. I would say use the sauna. It helps you stay mobile, keeps your joints good. And when your workout is over, by 6:10ish, 6:15ish, you should be on your way home or stopping to get food if you budget, if you can get food, or you need to cook. Food prepping wasn't always part of my go-to. I would just probably cook. And then gym days, really, I didn't do schoolwork that much. I'll probably do a discussion post or something, but I wouldn't do that much schoolwork. Then that next day, I didn't go to the gym. The day I don't go to the gym, that's when I did all my schoolwork because I'm going straight home. I'm going straight home. And then I'm just doing all my schoolwork, reading my articles, starting my papers, and I rinse and repeat that same schedule. And then that let me know like, all right, it's coming up on this time of the year. What we like, let's imagine if it's fall semester. If it's October, I'm already scheduling to meet with my academic advisor because they're not gonna put me on the schedule most likely. I'm gonna have to schedule with them and then reach out to them like, hey, is there any updates on the courses? Are y'all accepting new courses? They'd be like, yeah, we are actually. And then why? They just not gonna send an email out because I don't know why. Academic advisors, they have a lot of students, and they can only do so much sometimes. They really should incorporate AI. It'll help them out a lot. And so I meet with my academic advisor, get the scoop on that. I met with my academic advisor one time per semester, and then rinse and repeat. And then you look up and graduated. I maintained a 3 point. The GPA matters. I feel like the GPA shows my balance and consistency. For me, I don't really get caught up in the height of it, but I maintained a 3.78 at my 2 year, 3.9 or 3.8 at my 4 year, and graduate school is definitely a 3.9 or yeah, it's not a 4.0 or nothing. It's a 3.9, high 3.9 because you can't make a C in graduate school. So um, that's how I feel like it translates to from the bill though. Because if you was doing 15 credit hours mandatory, it was gonna be hard for you to find a good balance, right? At least for your studies, like we talk about. So they said, what's different? What we at right now? Oh, yeah, 30 minutes. All right, guys. So it's pretty much gonna go over the same thing from what I'm looking at though. I did just want to have us go through that. You can find the article inside higher ed. I believe this is free. This is the name of the article. If you want to read it, I'm going to put it in here. This is the name of it. By, this is by, I'm going to put their names in here. But it's by Inside Higher Ed, but these are the people who wrote it as well. I put their names in here. Did copy and paste? There you go. So I put their names in the chat, and that's the name of the article that I put in here. And so the next one we're going to talk about is budgets look bearish. Yes, in higher education, that's not good. So Northwestern University announced a hiring freeze. For all my people out there at Northwestern University, they announced a hiring freeze. And then it says expanded on an initial round of cost cutting measures in February. So we've been saying that a lot, especially for a person like me. Like I said, this don't pay the bills, and so a lot of jobs have been freezing their hiring, and they have not even been telling me at that. I mean, it's like day by day basis. We call you for interview, we cancel the interview, or we had a job opening and the job opening wasn't funded, or like, it's getting crazy. It is crazy. They're worried because a lot of schools, once again, they're spending more than they're keeping. It's basic budgeting. Like I feel like I am a budget expert when it comes to money. I will say that. And they just spend more than they keep. Makes sense. They just spending more than they should, and that's showing on their budgets. The University of Oregon, um, where lower than expected enrollment is compounding concerns about federal funding, expects budget cuts of up to $30 million. And like I said before, schools are not enrolling more students, but schools are expanding their campuses and stuff. That makes no sense at all. It makes no sense. And then they're expecting people like me, once again, to come into their school and say, oh, how can you increase our enrollment? Well, it's broken. How can I increase our enrollment that's broken? Like, that makes no sense. Like, how am I gonna increase your enrollment in this the higher education structure that you're going off of is broken? It's broken. You won't freeze the tuition. You won't even drop the prices for the students. You won't do nothing that can benefit the students, which can help bring in more students. Like instead of making your stadium bigger or the pool bigger or these unnecessary amenities bigger, how about making the classroom bigger and adding more instructors? How about having 2 instructors per class so you can get more done and bring in more students? Like common sense. And like, yeah, like do that. Like, but what I know though, they care too much about March Madness and stuff. So, or the NCAA playoffs, not NCAA playoffs, the college football playoffs, or whatever, you know. So, we talked about Yale. I forgot which one that was. June 4th. We talked about Yale is seeking to sell off up to $6 billion in private equity and venture fund stakes amid overwhelming returns and federal funding uncertainty. We talked about that. And it was funny. It was interesting, funny, because once again, I didn't even know you could be an investor into a college. Like they're opening up equity. So usually when you have private equity, that means you get ownership in a college. I didn't even know you could do that. So that's something I would consider in the future, getting private equity into a college. I wonder how that works. Keep you posted on that. And so remember I told you it's a lot of money in higher ed, and I expect them to keep the lights on in the building. I do not expect them not to make money, because we need money to also advance research and all these other great things. So before these typical traditional higher ed professionals try to tell me that it's not gonna work, or it's what else, or it's we have to increase the revenue for these reasons. Like, hey, I'm all for making the money, but once again, the students are our biggest stakeholders, regardless, unless you just really have a donor who is just outdoing the revenue stream of the consumers who come to the school. So that's a thought. It says the University of Minnesota system, they're struggling with federal research cuts and losses in state funding. I'm gonna read that again. The University of Minnesota system is struggling with federal research cuts and losses in state funding. It's considering tuition hikes and academic program cuts. Huh? I want to read that a little bit. I want to scan and read that one. They're considering tuition hikes. University of Minnesota eyes steep tuition hikes. The public institution aims to keep its budget balanced amid what its president described as unprecedented challenges in higher ed. Okay, let's look. I want to look into this real quick. This is by Higher Ed Dive. I never heard of this ever. So, okay, the University of Minnesota proposed a 6.5% increase on in-state undergraduate and graduate tuition at its flagship, while the institution navigates state and federal cuts. Wow. Facing both federal and state funding cuts, University of Minnesota officials are looking to raise tuition and cut academic programming. We read that in the brief. Let's get to the meat and potatoes. In a message to the university community last week, university president Rebecca Cunningham opened with a stark statement. We face unprecedented challenges across higher ed. Okay. As Cunningham noted, state funding is uncertain and historically trending downward. She also pointed out uncertainty in federal funding and international student enrollment under President Donald Trump and Republican-led Congress. So you're going to increase because y'all are facing uncertainty. Y'all are going to increase the excuse me. Y'all are going to increase the tuition on undergraduate students and graduate students. That don't make sense. Like University of Minnesota guys, we all know sports. They generate a lot of money. Now I don't know how much they got to pay back to the NCAA or whatever, but they generate a lot of money, and that's not fair to raise the prices on students because you wasn't prepared. Your institution didn't make strategic. Literally, that's all you have to do is sit down and make strategic and future projections of what if this happens or what if this don't happen. See what I'm talking about? What are they doing all day? What are you doing for the past? I don't know how long she's been there, but what are they doing? This is most college presidents. We didn't prepare. They didn't prepare for the worst. They didn't prepare for the worst. I'm changing the channel, y'all. I like to watch TV. I have some in the background. Like, why did they not do that? And that's a problem. I don't like that. You're gonna raise the tuition by 6.5%. So easy calculator. If your tuition for a semester is, I'm gonna say this is a university. I didn't look up the University of Minnesota, but we can definitely look up their prices. Yeah, let's look up their prices. Where we at right now? We got time. And then the last thing we're gonna talk about is the full. Yeah, we got time. Let's look it up real quick. University of Minnesota. See, that's what I love about this. That's why I love doing this because it just makes sense. It's simple, you know. Then eventually they'll come on to the live stream with us and tell us like, oh, this is, but they won't do that because they know they're wrong. University of Minnesota, tuition and fees. It was a headliner. Probably should add this to the headline. Cost of attendance, because they said they're gonna raise it by 10. They're gonna raise it by 6.5%. So, oh my. So tuition and fees, I hope that's not for both semesters. The exact cost of attendance varies slightly from student to student based on college enrollment and course taken, which is true. This is an estimated cost. They said tuition and fees is running 18 grand. I hope that's for both semesters. So y'all need to specify this is for both semesters of attendance. They should say that. To help them out in this aspect, 18 grand is crazy for one semester. So I'm just gonna do them the favor of dividing that by 2. Because they said tuition and fees is 18 grand, divided by 2, it should be 6 grand. 9 grand. Oops, I was off by 1. So 9 grand. So they expect to raise a 9 grand per semester tuition and fees. Your tuition and fees easily is 9 grand. Not including nothing else. Not including the auxiliaries, housing and food. Doesn't include, yeah, just housing and food. Yeah, housing, they put it together. So doesn't include your dorms and your meal plans. So 9,000 times 6.5%. Yep, equals 585. So 585 plus 9,000 is 900. It's 9,585 times 2. You looking at 19 grand. Okay, it goes up a little bit, I guess. It goes up 19 grand, but that would include, let's see. Yeah, that's just tuition. So you'll go up about 1,000 extra dollars, almost 2 grand. Um, but it says the proposal would slash programmatic their program budgets. The proposal would slash program budgets by 7%. The university says so. Some programs are going to get cut. So, like I said, if you do at least at University of Minnesota, if you're taking, if your program is just for example, this is an example, if the a program would be considered like your major. So if you're taking business or sociology or one more, psychology, those programs have a chance at being sliced, gone, to save money. Because when they cut those programs, they cut instructors, they cut things needed to make the course go well. It just cuts back on a lot of things like less technology use needed and all those other factors. So that's the process, I guess, of being ready. But I don't like that. Raising it. You should never have to raise, especially in these times, you should never have to raise tuition. Um, it was kind of a hard hammer at first. So quote of the day. Linda, let me tell you what Linda said. Linda McMahon, y'all know I like Linda, WWE. Secretary of Education said in an interview with Bloomberg that the Trump administration aggressive moves to yank funding from elite institutions have prompted other colleges to review their policies. Yes. Once again, review your policies. It's funny she's saying that because I said the same thing. Like, what are these policies looking like? Like, what are these schools looking at what they're doing based on their policies? Because they do know policy. The policy is the when you put a policy in place, that's going to make the people do what's based on that policy. Like, if I go to the business cashier or whatever, and I'm arguing about something or class, it don't matter what it is. 9 times out of 10, I will revert. I will go to the policy to prove that I'm right because I'm like, hey, you, da 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 da, and if I go to this policy, the policy says this ain't supposed to happen, this ain't what it's supposed to be, and then they have to literally respect my decision based off that policy. Now, I've never been in a situation like that personally, but usually institutions are basing their decisions off of policy. So when asked whether institutions like Harvard, Columbia, and Princeton might see federal money return, she cited progress in negotiations. It would be my goal that if colleges and universities are abiding by the laws of the United States and doing what we are expecting of them, they are respecting of them, that they could expect to have taxpayer-funded programs. Taxpayer-funded programs, where are my tax people specialists? Where are you? Because a taxpayer-funded program or programs, I need to learn about that. I need to learn about that personally. As we keep going, we still talking about budgets look bearish. And then let's see if something, while we're doing this, some stuff get posted. So let's see. Have any posts in the meantime while we make our transition? That's nothing. That's just a footnote. Doesn't matter to us. A lot of schools are pulling back DEI, by the way. That's not our area of study, really. Let's see. I feel like we touched on everything pertaining to here. Trade truths. We finna talk about this now. So this Fulbright situation, though, I didn't know how to feel about it because I didn't really hear about Fulbright until now. So Fulbright is like a scholarship, a very prestigious scholarship, apparently. And my LinkedIn. Why did you do that? So, looking for some posts, guys. Any breaking news? I haven't really heard any breaking news. Once again, how was y'all day though? In the meantime, and I would jump. All right, let's jump to it. Fulbright. Where is it? I got it pulled up in here. So the Fulbright board resigns over political interference. So first of all, first and foremost, what is the Fulbright Foreign Scholarship? That is, it's in the name. Obviously, it's a scholarship, but I never heard of it personally. Never. Why is it important? Because 12 of their board members, was it 12? Yes. No, 11 of their 12-person board members, 11 of them resigned because they said that, I want to say exactly, they said exactly that the reason for that was because, where is it? I had saw it. Where is it? They said they went against the law. Oh, there you go. They said they resigned over what they say is political interference in the selection process for recipients of the prestigious international grant. And so the Fulbright Foreign Scholarship, I'm about to look it up now. We're finna learn together with this one. I never heard this. Personally never heard of it. Um, so first and foremost, the Fulbright program, including the Fulbright Hayes program, is one of several United States cultural exchange. I don't know if I say that weird programs with the goal of improving intercultural relations, cultural diplomatic C. Probably not diplomatic C, but diplomacy. Why did I say diplomatic? Because I'm used to saying diplomatic. Diplomacy. And I want to know more. They have a 10. Let's go to, y'all let me go to the, I want to go to the website. Where's the website? Um, Here. It was interesting though because 11 is crazy out of 12. That is wild. So, okay, I see. It says the Fulbright the Fulbright Foreign Student Program enables graduate students, young professionals, and artists. So, if you're an artist or one of these other two, um, from abroad to study and conduct research in the United States. Now I see why they cut it. I see what. Okay, now I see why. So people are coming from different countries to study in the United States. And the Fulbright Foreign Student Program operates in more than 160 countries worldwide. Approximately 4,000 foreign students receive Fulbright scholarships each year. All right, so for my foreign students out there, um, that's not, that's not fair. If they want to study here, do their research, as I feel, like let them do it. But if you're cutting it to save money, that's not really a good reason, you know. I'm just saying, it's not a good reason to cut there because you want to save money, I guess. So that happened. Boom, boom, boom. There was a letter. I want to say it's probably not much on this because it's so simple that we know why they did it. Okay, it says under Democratic and Republican administrations alike, quotations, the board has followed the law, operating with independence. So it's supposed to be independent, and I like that. It's supposed to be independent. It doesn't matter if it's Democratic or Republican. They're supposed to operate independent, and they were not doing that. Apparently, that's why the board members left. The current administration has pretty much overused exercised too much of their authority of the board and denied Fulbright awards to a substantial number of individuals who were selected. So I wonder if all the students who were relying on that scholarship, the students that were relying on that scholarship, I wonder, are they still, where they're probably not able to study abroad at the current moment, because when you make such a big change like that, it pretty much puts a pause, a Hades on everything. So I wonder if the students are still able to. Let me see. I'm checking the chat, guys. We had 30, 50 views. We had 50. No, ain't no way. We had 50 views. Shout out to y'all for coming in. I hope y'all enjoyed it or got some information for the time you popped in. And so, where was I at? All right, I was right here. Um, this is not our realm, but I like to go in. And they said many, the reason why it was cut. So that's some experience I can give y'all real quick. So in higher education at the current moment, I thought it was burning. At the current moment, in the current moment, um, if you have anything with DEI in it, diversity, equity, inclusion, anything with it, it gets cut. They're cutting anything with that immediately. They're not asking, they're just cutting it. They're cutting it, and certain programs can't be for one. It cannot. Programs cannot be for one gender. I recall my previous job, they had to make it was a strictly all girls program, but they had to make the program tailored to boys and girls. Okay, it was for girls engineering. You don't have many girls slash women engineering, so the program was supposed to be tailored for women to engineer. And then when the administration came in with it's an executive order, I believe it's in law that DEI is no more. So that means like you had to change the name or this program can't run. So in higher education, when we run programs, that could be like K through 12 programs, that could be college programs. Um, I took some classes that were DEI, and technically, how them credits would transfer. If I wanted to transfer to a different school, I don't think those credits would transfer because they are DEI classes. But I believe my school changed the name on them because the research was based on DEI related. So, um, just a little info on that. And that's really important because that's like, man, besides, like, as I always like to say, besides being Democratic, like, if you Democratic or Republican, no matter, green, whatever, um, that's what makes us the United States. Being able to combine research with different personalities, different perspectives to break it down. I said, break it down, and so we need that. That's what makes us better than any other country because we're diverse. We have a wide variety of mindsets, right? And we can come together to do one mission. That's amazing. You can't do that nowhere else in the country. I feel like I haven't been to another country, but I feel like that's what separates us from other countries. And so it's bad to see that. I don't support that. I'm not a big DEI person personally, but I do get the purpose of it deep down. I really do. And so that's that. And then we're gonna break down our college. We already started on it. The University of Minnesota. Like since we already started, might as well finish it with them. So we're about to break down the University of Minnesota. We do this at the end of every video. If you're in here, if you're new, you just been sitting and listening. We do this at the end of every video. Last time we did a community college, because actually that community college was a little too expensive. So, me, I prefer if you find a community college under $2,000 for advice because that's per semester. You should be under $2,000 per semester, and then if all of them are over that, it's probably based on like how much you all make. But it sometimes don't matter because California get free community college. So, but sometimes they base the prices on the cost of living. All that plays a factor. That's macroeconomics. which makes no sense on why they're raising the tuition and they know wages haven't went up for students, you know, but or professionals. So, University of Minnesota. I think yeah, it's Twin Cities. Let me back. I think it's based in University of Minnesota. Let me see. University of Minnesota. Yeah, Minneapolis. Yeah, exactly. Um, we need the one in Minneapolis. Why are you making this complicated? I feel like y'all trying to trick me. University. It's a lot of Minnesotas. University of. Let me copy and paste it. University of Minnesota. I really want to look back into like schools being grant institutions because there are a lot of schools that are land grant institutions. And I learned about that in graduate school, but I really can't recall the difference between those. Yeah, that's them. That's them. I thought it was on fire, y'all. So this is accurate because we already did the math. We already did the math. Um, but that's based on like if they increase. They said for tuition you're looking at 18 grand. On the college scorecard for U.S. Department of Education, they said you're looking at about 17 grand if you go there for the year. And remember, we said when we did the calculation already, we were like, we're looking at 9 grand once we split that, once we divided that 18 grand. So 17, pretty much 17,000 divided by two is 8,500, which is accurate. It's accurate. Off by like 500. It's accurate. That's expensive though. 8,500 grand for one semester of school at the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities, based in Minnesota. That's a lot of money, man. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money because, as we like to do, going off the college scorecard, well, yeah, we'll go off of that. That 17 grand, just tuition. This does not include your meal plans, room and board. I gotta say that every time. 17 grand times four. I like to say four if you finish college in 4 years, but the average student finish college. The average student finishes in 5 or 6. Um, you're looking at 68 grand. You're looking at 68 grand total. And once again, financial aid, Pell, it's not gonna help you. Even the max Pell is not gonna cover you. It's not gonna cover you because they split it in two, so it's not gonna help you at this school. The median earnings is pretty good. What we said, 68. The median earnings at the school is 69,000, but you're gonna pay 68. So you'll be making like a $1,000 return on investment um, after you separated from the school for 10 years. If you are a student that received financial aid, or if you are a student that didn't receive financial aid, you could possibly be making about 70 grand or 69 grand, just to have a heads up. And I like to mention that because that matters. When I went to Valdosta State University, shout out to them, I looked at that. I noticed that a lot of them was getting jobs in places. A lot of them leave that area in Valdosta and go to the Atlanta area, or they go somewhere else around the world. But mostly, I believe they stay in Georgia. But they have a good return on investment of their, I would say, as alumni, we get good jobs. And so I seen people in my career field that was in higher ed going to that school to get to move the ladder in higher ed. So that was one of the reasons why I chose that school. And then my salary did match the estimate. It did match the estimate. And so, not to mention, if you're in another career field that's in demand, you're probably going to skyrocket over it. But you got to remember interview skills and all that plays into a factor. And so we talked about that. And they have some financial aid stuff in here. Really gotta get our financial aid guy, man. I can't wait till we level up the studio. Can't wait. Students return 91% of the time after their first year there. That's good, because considering the price of the school. They have an 83% graduation rate, which is good. So if you go there, you should finish. You should graduate. The debt, students walk away with a minimum of 19,500 in debt. I don't think that's accurate. I don't never think that's accurate, because most students can't really afford the school. They can't afford to go there after the first year. So you would really have to do like what we did, because I would say after the first year, some students get by. But that second year, from their sophomore to their senior year, you're looking at like just do like the tuition we talked about. Hopefully staying off campus, or add up your expenses for the school, and then what you got to pay, and just multiply that times 3. That's what you're looking at. And so, students receiving federal loans. They said 37% of their students receive federal loans. So that other half of that 100%, all right, quick. That other percentage of that 37, because we don't know where that other 37 can be allocated to. Not the other part of 37, but the difference of the 37 out of the 100%. Lord, that sounds confusing. But out of the 100% of students receiving federal loans, only 37% receive them. There we go. And I'm missing this some other stuff when I be doing them percentages. I was like, hold on, wrong thing. We talked about earnings. Yeah, 84% earn more than a high school graduate. That's really good. That's what they're saying based on this data. Hopefully they still uploading data though, since they've been doing these cuts. But everybody at the Department of Education was reinstated, so we should be good on data. They have the SAT scores on here in math. I'm in math. They have the SAT scores on what they're looking for. Is their range 800, 800? They say they got the ranges on here. Once again, we like to start at a 2-year. I don't think you should get caught up in test scores if you're gonna start at a 2-year. Personally, like SATs and stuff, it's good to take it, but if you plan on starting at a 2-year and bridging to your dream 4-year, just make sure your 2-year has articulation agreement with your 4-year. Please make sure, because last thing you want to do is go to a 2-year and have a last minute change, and then your credits don't transfer to that 4-year. And so make sure like give yourself more options. Like if you're gonna go to a 2-year, see who they have an agreement with, see who they have an articulation agreement with out of the universities. Like they can have multiple articulation agreements. There's not no set in stone one school agreement. Like they have more. Usually, like it'd be like depending on the school. If that 2 year is pretty good, they should have more than 3 school options. Because I know I had a few. I had, just to give you some context, I had Troy, Valdosta State, Columbus State. That's a local school where I'm from. Of course, I'm in Georgia, but you can have a certain radius and go to Alabama. So I was able to go to schools in Alabama if I wanted to. My school had an agreement with, who else they had an agreement with? Off the top of my head, those are schools I remember off the top of my head. And I almost went to Troy because my sister went there. And then, but yes. And I was looking for a school in a rural area. That's why I consider Alabama as well. Because Alabama cost of living is very good. And Valdosta is a rural area, of course. So I was looking for rural areas or affordable living. in that city. That's why I said a big city like Atlanta was not on my map. Got it off. And so their acceptance rate, if I didn't say it, is 77%. That's decent. But if you go into a 2 year, once again, if you start in a 2 year bridge to a 4 year, that doesn't really matter. And so, and they're special. So they are considered a special destination for Asian Americans and Native Americans and Pacific Islander serving institution. So remember, I talked about predominantly black institutions, Hispanic serving institutions. So if you go to this school, the University of Minnesota, you're going to see a lot of demographic of Asian American, Native American, and Pacific Islander. Like I'm pretty sure their culture of the school, which is called the campus climate or climate campus, whichever. I think it's campus climate. And so I'm gonna just say campus climate. It sounds better, but that is going to be tailored. The school is going to tailor heavily with cultural events and everything, much more to those demographics. And so, if you want to get exposure to like Asian American culture, Native American culture, Pacific Islander culture, this is a school you would go to, right? And there's a lot of other schools like that. And so, even though the school was originated as a predominantly white institution, the demographics, once again, we are a United Nations, so those schools, the demographics took over in that school pretty much. And so it's not a bad thing. It's just, hey, if you want to go and you want to be around more people of those demographics, go do it. And it's good that they put it on here because it's a special destination for that, which is so helpful. And that's pretty much it for the University of Minnesota. I would say they're expensive. Would I go there undergraduate? No, I won't go there undergraduate. I won't go there. It's too pricey. I would go to a 2 year. And if my 2 year has an agreement where they're going to charge me my 2 year price, if I go to the school, then I'll go there. But I'll go to my 2 year and I'll just enjoy their football games and stuff and just mingle. Like that's what I did, guys. Like when I was in my 2 year, I would go to the state university of where I lived in my city because I stayed local in my city when I went to my 2 year. I would go experience at the. I would just go to the 4 year and go like I get a gym membership access. Some of my friends started there. They started at a 4 year, so I was able to still get experience in the dining facility. They'll buzz me in with a card. I was pretty much getting everything for a very cheap price. I was getting the whole 4 year experience at a 2 year. That's some game right there. Um, that was game. I could use the library of a university because technically it's a public library. So then you can meet people at different schools that way too. And they might be like, hey, you go here? I'd be like, no, I go to the 2 year down the street. They be like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, yeah. What you taking? Oh, I'm taking macroeconomics 1101. And they be like, oh, I'm taking that too. But they're just paying more money for it. Okay. Like, and I feel like my schooling was harder because the instructor could actually focus on me. And when we had class discussions, like my instructor could be like, you said this, and I don't think I like that you said that. So, and then it wasn't no TA, no, I think they call those teacher assistants or something, or I forgot what it's called. But bigger schools have them where it's a student grading your paper and they're a student with you. No, it's gonna be this person who's studying, got that PhD, or working on their PhD, grading my stuff. We ain't playing that game. So that's pretty much everything I would say. University of Minnesota, Twin Cities. I had to rate them, man. I gotta get them a. Like, should we do an F or a D? I had to get them a. I don't know, man. They'll just have to get. They can't be a. All right, I get them a C. They get a C. They just get C. I really a school had to get an F if like a school go get an F with me is if a school would get an F with me if they're not accredited and they're charging screen prices and they're not even giving you a great return on your money for going there. That's F. Like that's just terrible. Like don't even go to the school. Why are you even here? Like you didn't do any research before you went there. That's the type of school. So that's it for live screen. I hope it was helpful. Hope it was pretty good. And we will see you all. Well, tomorrow we supposed to travel back to the studio. So we will see. If not, we'll see. Can't guarantee a time, but we'll see. Peace.